friends at Indian Hill Elementary. It's Mrs. Pavlick. I'm back to join you for a little stories and stretching. So if you're new to yoga, we're just going to do some easy stretching. If you were in my after school yoga go time or club, you probably know a lot of these moves, and you can do kind of anything that you feel like doing if you're on your mat or on your carpet. So thanks for joining me. Let's start with a nice breathing exercise. It kind of gives us a little energy, and it also can be relaxing, and some people know it in it's 5-finger breathing. And you'll have your hand open, and we call this like a starfish hand in yoga. And when we trace our finger up, we breathe in. And when we go down, we exhale. Here's a little high five. All right, that feels good. If we were doing a whole yoga practice together, we might do both hands. Okay. To start a little bit of our practice, we can put our hands in front of our heart and bow down. Say namaste. Namaste. And that's a good way for students and teachers in yoga to greet each other. And it's a sign of respect and a sign of welcoming. So welcome. All right. The story that I'm going to share today is called Chrysanthemum by Kevin Henkes. You probably know lots of books that he's written. Wemberley Worried, Julius. This is one of my favorites. So I'm going to share this first, and then we'll do some of our exercises. Chrysanthemum. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father, and she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On her first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way to school. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Mrs. Chudd took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Here's Mrs. Chudd, and here's all of her classmates. Dawn, Eve, Lois, Al, Les, Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, and Sam, Ken, and Joe, Rita, Victoria, and Chrysanthemum. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You are named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Judd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria exclaimed. Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Judd. Now, put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, a chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Judd. Now put your head down. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked her, the leaves and petals one by one, until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. That was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest possible route to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 they seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. She is. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musicale. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy? Chrysanthemum's a daisy? Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is," said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would?" said Rita, pointing. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium." Delphinium Twinkle. "And if my baby girl is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Jo. "I'm Carnation," said Rita, pointing. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. And here's the ending, called the epilogue. Overall, the class musicale was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a great book. I love the part of the theme of the story. Love yourself just exactly the way you are. Okay, let's do a little stretching for a minute. I think that would feel good. So we have a few minutes to do that together. So I might turn myself for a minute sideways on my mat a little bit so that you can see me. But let's come up on our knees. I'll move down here a little bit so you can see me. Come down on your knees. Okay. All right. And let's take one hand out to the side and see if you can touch your fingertips down to the floor. take your opposite arm straight way up over your head, and then see if you can kind of stretch your arm over your head. And you get a nice side stretch. Good job. You can come back straight up tall. Keep your arm up tall. And bring that arm down. So let's do the other side. I'm going to take my fingertips down by my leg over here. It already starts to kind of tip me over. And bring your opposite arm up. First straight and tall. And then over your head. Give yourself a nice side stretch on this side. Good job. Come up straight and tall. We'll practice a pose for a minute called camel pose. So let's start with one side and let's swing your arm up straight. See if your ear and your arm can kind of touch right next to each other. And then turn your arm back and see if you can grab onto your heel, or if you want, you can lean onto the floor and stretch your back open, and you can take your opposite arm up and over. Good job. It's like a little back bend. And come up again. And let's switch sides. So take one hand, get all the way up. See if you can check if your ear's touching your arm. And then grab your heel on the floor behind you and stretch your opposite arm up and give yourself a nice back bend on this side too. And let's come back up. Now if you feel comfortable, you can do both. You could just reach your hands back to your heels this way and look up at the ceiling and stretch your shoulders back and open. Or if you like to, you can start by swinging your arms all the way up together next to your ears, and then open your arms out to the side and grab your heels. You can do what feels comfortable for your body. Stretch yourself nice and open. Good job. And you can bring yourself back up and your hands down. Good work. All right, let's come into all fours. And so I look like I'm really kind of close to you right now. And we'll practice a little bit of, it's called thread the needle. So if you're on all fours, you can see my hands are like a starfish hand. My palms are on the floor with my fingertips spread. Okay. To thread the needle, take one arm way up out to the side. See if you can even kind of reach your fingertips all the way up towards the ceiling. Look up at your hand. Breathe in, and when you exhale, breathe out. Bring this hand all the way through underneath, and you can even rest your head down on the floor. Stretch your back out. Good job. Swing that arm all the way back up to the ceiling and back in place. Okay? And stay balanced. Remember, we do everything to both sides. So let's do the same with our other side. Let's swing our arm up straight. If we can get it all the way up and tall, look up at your fingertips way up tall. Breathe in. And when you exhale, thread the needle. Rest your head down for just a second while you exhale. And stretch out your shoulders. Good work. Come back up onto all fours. Okay. Let's see if we can sit in a pose. It's called, kind of funny, it's called cow face pose. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one knee facing the front of my mat, my foot behind me. I'm going to bring this other leg around until my knees are stacked. You see that? My knees are kind of stacked one on top of the other with my feet out. It's a good stretch for your hips. For a second, you can rest your hands on your knees. Okay? And then we can do a little twist. So bring your arms up into goalpost. Okay? And you want to check and make sure your palms are way up. There you go. All right. And Your legs are kind of locked into place, so you're going to be twisting from your waist and twist to one side and hold it. Good job. Come back to the middle. So you can't twist very far, but it feels really good on your sides. And let's twist to the other side. Good job, and come back to center. Okay. All right, you can bring your arms down for a minute. Grab your arms at your elbows behind your back, and that will keep your shoulders up nice and tall. Kind of opens up your chest. This. And then with your arms back there, start to tip forward a little bit and see if you can kind of fold over your legs. And when you kind of get as low as you can, take a nice deep breath in and exhale. Good work. Come on back up. Okay, let's switch our legs for just a minute. So I have my left leg on the bottom. So I'm just going to switch my legs, put my right leg on the bottom. Good work. Okay. And my legs are switched. And now we'll do another stretch. We'll do eagle arms. So in eagle arms, take our arms out to the side. And I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to cross one arm over the other at my elbows. And then I'm going to bring my arms up straight and see if I can clasp my hands in front of my face. There I am. Okay? So your palms are kind of together. For just a second, you can relax your elbows down in front of your chest and then see if you can lift them up high. And lift them up and away from your body. Good job. Drop them down. And let's lift them up one more time. Lift them up. Good job. Take your arms up straight and tall and fan them out to the side. Good work. Okay. You might want to take your legs out long in front of you. Straight legs. Give a little point of your toes. And then flex them back. Point. And flex them back. Good work. Take one leg and we'll cross it over in front of our knee. Scoot back a little bit so I can see you. And swing your arms up tall. Clasp your hands and stretch forward. And if you're feeling really long and stretchy, your hands might actually reach around your foot. They might reach the top of your foot or someplace on your leg. And you should feel a nice stretch in the back of your leg. Inhale, and when you exhale, swing yourself back up. And you can keep your hands up straight and tall. Just switch your legs. Up. And when you're ready, clasp your hands and see if you can fold forward over this leg. Like I said, you might grab your foot or around the bottom of your foot or somewhere on your leg. And swing yourself up tall, arms down. If you want to, you can sit with your heels stacked for just a second. You can let your hands relax over your knees. You can have your hands open and up, which is a sign of being open and welcoming, or you can join your first finger and your thumb in a unity circle. It shows balance of mind and body and spirit. Put your hands here. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Stretch your neck and try to look over one shoulder. Back to the center. Stretch your neck and look over your other shoulder. Back to the center. Give yourself a nice squeeze. Give yourself a little twist in your trunk. Roll your shoulders out. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're having great spring days. Get outside and do some playing. Enjoy your reading and your time with your family. Namaste.